I got my the first promotion, I think I talked about in like this like podcast where just after I got the promotion, I burnt out. Before this, I wasn't very intentional about how I was going to achieve this goal and what I was doing. I just knew I had to work extra hard because they were kept telling me no. So I put energy in everywhere I could. It was like just so mismanaged and misplaced that it was almost certain that I was going to burn out. Like it was kind of crazy. There was no balance. So now if I want to do something, I'm very intentional with, okay, in order for me to get from A to B, and yes, unfortunately, sometimes I'm going to have to work extra hard because I am a woman, and there's less of us in the workplace, especially. The only one is extra hard. I really just have to be very focused on exactly what I'm trying to get out of it, because if I mismanage myself like before and I try and do everyone, it's all about being intentional with my purpose and making sure that if I'm going to put in the extra effort for something, it's really for something that I want. Because if it's not, I'm naturally like I'm going to burn out, and my mental health is going to be at risk. So making sure that I have my chill time. I close my laptop at 6 p.m. or whenever I can, and just make sure I have enough rest, so that if I am working extra hard, I'm also trying to rest extra hard as well. So if that means like watching Real Housewives for hours on end, then cool. And that's what I'm going to do. So yeah, I don't know if that answers your question, but
you're in the phase right like you know that you're heading towards the danger zone, but you still have a lot of things to do, and you're telling yourself that you know you have to work hard. Like how like, is it just key to have a supportive manager, or like what? And also, what are your indicators for yourself that you're heading towards a bad place?
So if I'm already there, it's already like I'm on the edge of like burnout. Indicators for me always are I become really, really I'm much slower. I'm very fatigued, and like my thinking becomes very scattered. I'm just super forgetful about what I want to do. That's when I start to kind of feel like, okay, like this is not going so well for me, and I probably need to take a break. In order to, I guess, the support or things like this, having managers around you, even peers around you that are where you can be very honest and say like, and you can maybe either had conversations, or sometimes they see it in me before I've seen it, and that's normally what has always happened. I'm the last person to know that I've burnt out. It's normally the case, because if you knew before, I wouldn't be on the edge, right? I'm always the last person. So having colleagues or a manager around me to say like, I think you need to take a break, but actually listening to that, I used to ignore it and be like, they don't know me. Like I'm not going to take a break. So hearing it and be like, okay, I have to trust that these people have my best interests at heart. It's very rare a manager will say to you, take time off, unless they truly, really wanted you to take the time off. So yes, listening to my colleagues, but also, I think I said it on the podcast as well, like therapy. Having therapy and having a space where you can air out your grievances with yourself, with others, allows me to see even myself from a different perspective, where I can understand like, okay, this isn't working for me. The pattern of what I'm doing isn't okay. So I need to take a break. And yes, like sometimes you want to do I want to do everything. I want to achieve all these goals. And sometimes it's just, I have to say to myself, you can't, you might be working twice as hard, but right now you have to stop. You have to be okay with just, it can't be right now. So sometimes I've missed the timeline or the deadline of when I wanted to achieve something, but I was never going to achieve it because I'm about to burn out. So I have to be honest with myself and have a better conversation to say no, even like when I really want to do it. So a combination of all those things is what helps me at least try to not burn out. It still happens, but try to not do it as often as I used to, and still be able to achieve some of the things that I want to do. Hopefully, did that answer better now? Yeah. Okay, cool.
Thanks. First of all, I want to say thank you very much, because I think it's a very brave what you're doing, talking about it. Some years ago, I wish I would had the opportunity to have that kind of information. It would help me a lot in my work, a work I was doing some years ago. I'm father of 3 girls, and it concerns me quite a lot, the situation of the woman in the work. Then I would ask you if you, or briefly, I don't know how much, but in a sentence or 2 or 3, what you need. But what did you, or what do you say to your girl, or to you at yourself? I mean, to yourself, if you were a girl, or if you can meet your past girl when you were 12 years to yourself. Yeah, that's.
I know. I have very bad hand-eye coordination. Okay, so what would I say to my younger self? Okay, so one of the things I would say is that you don't need to be like everyone else. In fact, the things that we individually bring into any situation, whether it's friends, work, family, like that's what makes it special. Like we're all supposed to be unique. And I think a lot of what we do, especially as women, is we try to mask and like ourselves in order to fit in, especially when you may be the only woman in the workplace. You think, like, in order for me to succeed, I have to just be like all the men. Like, you do not. In fact, being yourself allows you to elevate a situation in the way that they may not be able to. And so to any like young girl, especially if you want to like get into, I guess, tech, or you want to just feel comfortable being yourself, I would say like, start by actually being yourself and doing that unapologetically. If someone doesn't like you or doesn't agree with you just because you're being true to who you are, that's their problem. You don't have to change yourself in order to make them okay. They need to go and figure out why they're not okay with you being who you are. So that's what I would say, especially to myself, because I know that I did that. That's the mistake I made a lot, was trying to act like the men that I worked with. My career started to improve when I stopped doing that.
Yeah, thank you, Nadia, for doing the podcast. It was really interesting, and I felt definitely a lot of points you made are like resonating with me. I, in particular, wanted to mention that I really liked something you said, that it's kind of like subconsciously I realized, but I think I never put into words, was when you were talking about, like, I guess, challenges with remote teams, how you kind of get this, I think you said, risk of like creating a culture where you only talk to people when you need something from them. And I kind of noticed, like, the previous job I was working at was the first time I was mostly remote. And I kind of noticed it was really changing the dynamic and relationship I had with not only my like teammates, but my manager. And it was really strange because I kind of had that realization where I was just like, I think I'm only talking to people when there's like a very clear purpose. And it was very different than like being in an office or something. So I was just curious, like, I know you mentioned meetings, like having regular meetings kind of helps with like your manager to build like opportunities to talk about things that aren't like super scheduled in the topic sense. But I was curious if there's any other, I don't know, strategies or things you've discovered with remote work that help, I guess, create more of those natural reasons to talk to each other and aren't like super like I only message my colleagues when I gotta bother them about something. Or maybe even with your meetings, do you schedule them the same time every day, or is it like kind of like random or depends on the day? Just curious if you have any other ideas about that.
Oh, it's a good question. It's kind of hard with remote work because I feel really bad when I schedule something in someone's calendar, because when I see my calendar and it's really full, I don't know about anyone else, but it kind of gives me anxiety to see all the blocks. I'm like, oh, I have so much work to do, because it becomes a more visual representation of how busy your day is, as opposed to just like being in your day and then it just happens to be busy. So I try not to like overschedule meetings, but what I might do is, for the most part, something that I need in a meeting, probably we can do it in like 7 minutes. it's very rare that we actually need like to actually talk for half an hour. But I do try to like pad things out a lot more because it's nice just to be able to randomly have like, I don't know, 5 minutes at the beginning to be like, how are you? Like, how's your day going? Like, what have you been up to? And just to talk to someone as an actual person. And then we can go straight into like, the thing that we need. So I try to add like buffer time for us to be able to have that sort of like just chat that you would definitely have if we were in person. I think if you don't do that, you enter a meeting and like, okay, let's get to the point, let's fulfill the agenda, then thanks, goodbye, and then you're out of there. So I think that's helpful as well. Outside of just actually chatting, like, we still have like Slack and things like this. So I try to add a lot of my personality into the conversations that we do have, because otherwise it's like you're talking to like robots. So I like to, whether it's like adding memes or like GIFs, whatever it is that you can, I try to add as much of me into that conversation. I don't try to make it over like professional, because otherwise it's super boring and it's like everything is like, it lacks flavor and seasoning. So I think like add as much personality as you can when you talk to people. Try to have those conversations, maybe a meeting that you wanted to talk about, I don't know, like a requirement for something. It didn't happen because you ended up talking about like the holiday that you went on over the weekend or something. That's okay. So I try to allow for those things. Yeah, so I don't know if that's like in terms of like tips, but I try to just be as much as myself through the mediums that we have, rather than it just being like transaction, like get in, get out, and everyone is just a part of my job, and we're all just like cogs in a machine.
That's good tips.
If I can add something also, just as an introduction, Nadia, here something that we added to the program is that we are also working on the soft skills, and part of it is that we are giving, I don't know if you know about one test in particular that is quite used in the industry, that is called the Clifton Strength. And it's like a personality test that gives you 34 traits that ordered by, actually as an engineering manager, I completely recommend it because it helps you also like getting, like letting your managers to know themselves and also and explore the strengths and everything. But there's one that recurringly, with the conversations that we have, there's one that recurringly appears, and it's quite common on the half of the students. That is, it ends up in a question that is like, how do you feel about chit chat? Mm-hmm. Yeah, and they say, I hate it. Yeah, it's useless. And it's like we have this conversation about how it's not that useless. Okay, and it's actually good practice, and it doesn't have to be like chit chat like the Spanish way. Like, how are you? Fine. Okay, so like this. No, it has to be meaningful. It has to be like, how are you? Fine, or meh, why is that? Yeah. So I think adding to that is like the chit chat is good. The meaningful chit chat is very good, and it's basically what you were saying here.
Yeah, I mean, in life, I actually really don't like to talk about like if someone's asking me about the weather, I'm like, no, like I actually. Like small talk, that is absolutely pointless. Mm-hmm. I actually have a conversation about, because one day you might meet these people, you might, and I don't wish to be sat in a room with like hundreds of people that I genuinely don't care about. Or all I know about is that they live in a city that happens to rain all the time. Like that's really just like pointless. So
you're going to ask them about the weather when you're in person in London, and it's like
that's literally what most people do.
Actually, I comment about the weather in the podcast is one of the first things. So no, I just commented on it. Okay, it was surprising that it's that windy. So
first of all, I would say I have loved everything what you said, and the way you explain it, and to say it was extremely inspirational for me. I'm in the same situation that I came in that bootcamp because of and How was the very first time you entered this world, and how you had dealt with so many information and new concepts you never listened before?
Just to clarify, by this world, you mean like in the bootcamp kind of? Okay, so before I joined Codeworks, I would say that I had already like fully immersed myself in like what would happen in this sort of like situation. So there was another bootcamp called Codesmith, which is based out in LA, and they had like tons and tons of like remote sessions. It was in San Francisco time, and I was crazy, so I was up at like 2 a.m. and doing all these like kind of pair programming sessions and things like this. So I kind of understood a lot about what was going to happen when I kind of got into the room. I did that because high anxiety. I didn't want to feel uncomfortable, so I wanted to make sure that I was like trained for the situation almost. So I did that. That was really helpful, at least for me. But when I first came into Codeworks, and I think our batch was 4 people, I was super anxious about what we were going to be learning, meeting new people. I think at the time I was one of like the older. I wasn't older. 24, 25. So I felt like, oh my God, I'm so old to change my career. Like now that sounds so stupid, but I mean, I really thought, I was like, oh, there's so much going on. I've just changed my career, all this information is going to be thrown at me. I just honestly, everything, whilst I was in my sessions, I kind of ignored all the stuff I just talked about with small talk and everything. I didn't talk to anyone. Everyone that I've talked to now, that I was in the boot camp with, they were like, you were so quiet, you didn't speak to us, you seemed like they said that I seemed really scary. I just was not into the whole like small talk. I was like, I'm here to learn, guys. I'm not here to make friends. That was like my focus, and I literally was just about the information. So all the classes, everything, I wrote so much notes down. I knew I was never going to retain any of the information while I was there. It was just never going to stick into my head. I knew that was going to happen. So everything that I was there, I was like, just take notes. And I recorded some of the sessions, I think. And when I got home, I was like, okay, I'm going to just kind of take this in at my own pace. And some lessons, I was right there with them and I understood everything. Some others, I was completely lost and I was like, I don't get this right now and I'm probably not going to get it. And I think it was just, I knew that was everything. And also, because I'd worked in tech already, I already knew that a lot of the stuff that we were going to learn, it wasn't always going to be absolutely required for me to get a job. So, like university, like school, it's okay for me to 100%. As long as I got the notes and I can refer back to it, that's all that matters. As long as I have the skills to be able to piece things together and to solve a problem, that's actually the most important thing. That's what our job is. It's be able to Google the right thing. It's be able to go on Stack Overflow and say, like, that's a shit answer. Like, I don't need that. That's what our job is. Our job isn't to retain and learn and to know everything and to just be like a robot and just like, that's not our job. Like, we're not AI. Like, that's not what we're here for. So that's what I did. It's okay. Like, it's fine. And I concentrated on being able to piece the problem together rather than to regurgitate what the teachers were telling me to do, or that's it. And also, very important is that the students sitting next to me, I would ask them a question, but I don't have to believe their answer. I can say, oh, thanks for telling me that. Let me go and search and make sure that I'm okay with what you're saying. That's really important too. So, yes, there's so much information thrown at me. Even now, I'm sure if you guys ask me a question about what I learned, I don't remember all of it. That's absolutely fine, and that's okay, and that's what's supposed to happen. So don't feel pressured to take in all this information right now and feel like when you leave in 3 months, you should be able to know everything 100%. I don't think that's a requirement. Maybe I'm wrong, but I don't think that's a requirement of being in a boot camp at all. Maybe I'm just like throwing away everything that they're telling you right. I don't think that's a requirement.
You're bombarding my grad score.
Yeah, I know, but that's kind of how I saw it, and I think that helped me just relax from having to complete every exercise and having to know everything. It's not necessary. It's not necessary to be good at your job. Even now at work, I don't know how to solve every problem. Cool, whatever. That's not the point. The point is know when to ask for help, how to find the right information. something to you, you can be like, okay, I can take that and I can go away and figure out how I would solve the problem myself. I don't know if that necessarily answers your question, but that's what I would do.
Mine was a joke. No, actually, I'm very glad that you say this, because actually it's my way of doing, my way of going, yeah? And I think that I always transport it to you guys. It's like, oh, but we didn't did this exercise in the end or something. It's like, that's not important. The important is the process. The important is like every day being here, solving the problems, solving this, solving there. So completely agree. Completely agree. And I didn't know that you prepared in Codesmith, actually, before going to...
I also interviewed for like nearly every boot camp possible, because it's something also now, like I interview all the time for jobs that I know I'll never get, I'll never take. Interviewing, learning, understanding different process from different people, hearing different feedback is extremely important in order to understand yourself a lot better. And also, you can kind of tell yourself, oh, I can actually do this, or I can't, and this person has told me why. I move on and go into... So yeah, I did like 4 or 5 interviews. I got into so many boot camps, and then I decided to go to CodeWorks. It also, like I said, it removed the anxiety of the situation.
Cool. When you start feeling you are so good in this
oh my gosh. That's a good question. So I feel like in general, I mean, imposter syndrome is probably like a big thing that happens where you just kind of... I think I've always felt that I've not been so good at my job, which is probably why I've worked harder than I necessarily have needed to at some times. I think one thing that has helped me understand where I sit, like just even good or terrible at wherever you are, is feedback from other people. So with my manager that I speak to all the time, I just ask, how am I doing? Like, how is it going? Is there anything I can do better? Is there anything I can work at? I also ask the same question to the people who I manage all the time, because I could be doing a terrible job at being their manager too. So feedback is really important. And so that's in the job that you're in, on the outside, because I think it's really important to not get complacent with where you are and not allow your job to dictate where you are as well. Is I interview a lot, like honestly, probably an unhealthy amount. I interview for jobs that like I said, that I know I probably won't get, or maybe I will, because maybe, I don't know, they're going to pay me more, it's a good opportunity, who knows. That actually helps me understand where I sit and what I'm good at, because they don't have to give you a job, they don't have to, but it just helps me understand in the market what I'm personally can bring to a situation, what my going rate is, what I might be good at, what makes people excited to get me into their workplace. It gets me to see myself from a very different perspective. A lot of people don't do that, but I think actually interviewing a lot has improved my career like by tons, because I can really focus on like my specialty, or things like I didn't know that I was good at that, or I didn't think that people would be receptive to the things that I say, in that regard. So yes, in terms of when I'm like so good, honestly, every time you move up, every time you go up to a different level, I always find out that I'm terrible at something that I didn't know. So I never feel that I'm so good. I just feel like I was better than I was before. I don't think I've ever felt confident to say like I'm a sick developer, like, oh, I'll nail this, because every day I find a problem that I have no idea how to solve. Every time I find a situation, it could be a problem with a person, a problem with engineering, and I'm just like, I have no idea. So it's an incredibly humble environment that we have, where we can think we're amazing and then immediately get knocked down because we don't have the answer. So yeah, I could never tell you I feel so good. I just think I do certain things that allows me to get the feedback on where I currently am. That makes sense.
Everybody has some degree of imposter syndrome. So
yeah, we all have it.
It's hard. Well, the time that you face like you find something that thinks that is so good at their job, maybe it's not that pleasant of a conversation. So we tend actually to be quite humble and to see ourselves in the inside like you're an imposter, more than I'm very good at my job. Usually are like little pills that when you do something, it's like, fucking good. Yeah.
Yeah,
It's like
yeah.
they're like little lights.
I ask you this because, well, I only have been here for 3 or 4 days, but some of these days I get like so lost, so much lost. That I get like, wow, this is not my side, something like this. And well, I think you said in the poster that you sometimes felt like that. So I would like to calm my feelings that I feel good with this stuff, with this kind of things, with developing, you know.
This is like the feeling that you have right now. Like, you've 3 to 4 days. You said you've been here.
Sorry?
If you've been here for like 3-4 days.
This is my
Since
fifth day.
So since Monday, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, you're supposed to feel like this. Like, you are supposed to feel like,
Okay.
like you're supposed to feel uncomfortable. A big part of being an engineer is learning how to deal with the feeling that you have right now. Is learning that being uncomfortable is okay, because you're about to either be on the other side where you're like, okay, I've figured it out. And for you, maybe figuring it out, it could be week 6, or it could be next week Monday. But that's okay. It's a part of the journey. Like, that is where I think being uncomfortable is what makes or breaks people as a developer. That's not to scare you and say, like, if you don't figure out a way to get comfortable, you won't succeed. No, it's to say that this feeling of being uncomfortable and being able to ride it is actually what makes great developers, because you're going to have a problem, like the problem that you've had from Monday till now that you're trying to solve. In a year's time, when you have a job, or even sooner when you have a job, you're going to feel like this again, but you're just going to have more tools at your disposal to be able to deal with the problem, or this level of like uncomfortability, if that's a word, that you have now. So don't worry, like, I feel uncomfortable. I feel like where you are, like, all the time. I get a task and I have no idea how to solve it, and everything inside me says I'd rather like quit or do something else and just like watch TV. But I can't, like, it's part of my job, and I have to figure out how to solve the problem. And sometimes I've got a problem that I have to lead other people to solve. I'm like, oh my gosh, how am I going to stand in front of these people and lead them into a problem? I have no idea what to do. It's okay. It's cool. Like, it's actually a part of this career. It's a part of what we do. And just allow yourself to be okay with not feeling okay. I know that sounds hard, but you have to learn how to be like, this is actually fine that I feel uncomfortable, because I'm learning something. I'm growing as a person. And you can't grow and feel nice and comfortable and safe. Like, it's just, I wish we could, but it's just impossible. And this job forces us to grow like nearly every single day. The moment you feel comfortable all the time is the moment you need to either shift, change your job, change your career, change something, because that means that you're now becoming very complacent, and now you're going to get stuck. So you are in a position which is where a lot of people are not. You force yourself to change your career, I assume, right? You're forcing yourself to learn something new. This is a great feeling that you have. Like, don't worry, don't be scared about it. Don't worry at all. And I know for sure, day 2, 3, 4 weeks, 5, 6. I remember CodeWorks. I was like, sometimes just like sweating, because I was like, this is a lot. And it's fine. You don't have to worry about it. And there's going to be people in 6 weeks when you're a senior, right? And someone else is sitting in like the place that you're in, and where you felt uncomfortable. You're going to feel so calm that knowing that you can probably help them. That's going to be the greatest feeling, when you actually can help someone. And like in 6 weeks' time, I promise, that's a feeling that you're going to get. You're like, oh, thank God, I don't feel like this anymore.
Okay, thanks.
Yeah, don't worry.
Thank you so much.
Enjoy feeling miserable. Yeah,
Basically. Yeah, it's absolutely fine.
Hello, Nadia. Thank you for your feedback about everything, for all these topics. Thank you very much. I feel very grateful for all this information. As I've said before, I decided to switch careers at the age of 38. I'm 38. I just I was feeling stuck. I was feeling very uncomfortable. I got tired of the salaries here, as I'm from Greece. The salaries here are very low. So because I want to provide for my family and have a decent way of life. Also being more productive, like, building a project, facing challenges, solve them, see the actual product at the end. Or, never mind. I want to ask you if there is a phenomenon in IT industry, mainly of course in the US I have heard, but there is ageism. And I want you to to say your thoughts about that once, since you are interviewing people, as you said. So, is there a chance for a company to pick someone who is a junior level at the age of 38 instead of picking someone who is 25, let's say?
Well, one thing with CVs, well, at least I don't tend to focus on someone's age. I mean, you can get one because it's not normally on a CV. At least in the UK, we actually don't have to put age. In fact, it's discrimination to say if someone is 38 versus 25, they can't have the job. We can't do that. So in terms of showcasing, I guess because you've probably had a career in other industries beforehand, and you want to join a company, it's about making sure your CV, all the projects that you're going to be working on, everything like this, really elevate that in your CV, put those to the forefront so that you can stack them on top of the previous experience that you have. So don't just put it somewhere down the side of projects. No, your whatever job you had before this bootcamp, you want to stack those projects on top and really go into detail what you've built, the tools that you've used, the technologies that you've used. Make that really, really big, because they won't know that it was bootcamp projects. Sure, you could explain that, but on your CV, they won't know that. You don't have to say, I did this as a project at a bootcamp. That's not necessary. When you're if you are lucky to speak to a recruiter, in a recruiter phone screen or a hiring manager phone screen, in that very first interview, you want to show your passion for, you've just changed your career. You've just kind of learned all these projects. You want to really elevate that and really speak about all of those things that you've done and what you can bring to the situation. Where you are right now isn't a negative. It can be seen as a positive, because you really want to learn. You really want to focus, and also you've already been in a working environment before that maybe someone who's 20 years old hasn't been in. So you have a lot more experience in other ways that actually will make you look quite attractive. So I would say focus on your projects, focus on the career that you've had before and the transferable skills that you can bring into a situation. And then you want to just nail the technical part as well, right? So if you are coming in as a slightly junior person, absolutely fine, but just absolutely nail the stuff that you've learned. And then hopefully anyone will be lucky to have you in a junior or to mid-level role. So that's what I would focus on if I were you. And that's definitely what I tried to focus on when I had my first job. So I did what I just said. My projects were at the top of my CV. I spoke about all the things I did before, and I said that's why it will make me a better developer than any other junior developer that's just come out of university. This is why you should hire me, and you shouldn't hire those other people. You have to just kind of be your own salesperson, because in some cases, some people will look at maybe your background as, they won't know, so they might see it as not as strong, but that's not the case. So you really have to be your own salesperson. You really have to deliver. You have to nail that hiring manager interview. I hope that makes sense.
Yes, it does. Okay. Thank you. Thank you, Nadia.
So first of all, thank you for being here, Nadia. I actually have 3 questions for you. And the first one is regarding junior landing their first role. So basically, it's, I guess, common for entry-level software engineer to land their first job, and then they have to understand the internal documents and the company infrastructure and the code base. So have you gone through that, and how would you kind of solve that situation and be able to progress within the company?
Okay, so that like joining company, then learning the code base, like that thing is a problem. One that I have when I joined a new company as well. Like it's kind of daunting because you join, everyone's like just putting in pull requests and going, and you're like, I have no idea what anything is, and it's so confusing. So one thing is the problem that you're facing is not because you're junior. The problem you're facing is because you're new. We all have exactly that same problem. It's a very daunting place for anyone to be when joining a new company. So don't put that down to where you are in your career. Just put it down to the situation, like you are a new employee. It's expected of you to not know anything. Also, it's expected of you, or it should be for the first 3 to 6 months, to almost add zero value to the features that they're building because you don't know enough about the processes. You don't know enough about how to solve the problem, like solve some of the problems that they're facing because you haven't worked there for long enough yet. So just kind of allow yourself to maybe fix a few bugs, pair program with a few people. If they don't suggest that during your onboarding. Can I pair program with someone else while they're working on this feature? Can I come to a meeting to understand like some of the processes, like how we, decide on a feature that we're going to be building or how we're going to be doing sprint planning? Just try to be as part of as many processes as possible. Do not worry about adding that value. These are the things that you should be asking during the interview process. Any company that says when you join in the first week you're going to have to be starting to build something, that's so hard for any of us to be able to do. My job, I just started last year April, and I did build a feature I think within the first 2 to 3 weeks, but I didn't do it on my own. I sat with another person who I was his manager, but in this situation, he really was senior in terms of his experience of the code base. So we sat together, we built the feature. Without him, it would have been impossible for me to be able to execute that. So what I'm saying to you is that problem is a problem for all of us. And just to ensure in your interview, to make sure their onboarding process allows you the room to fail without you being judged for your position or your job. It allows you to learn these things and be comfortable doing so. Does that answer the question?
Yeah.
Okay. You had a second question?
Yeah. So my next question is so many companies have their job specifications, say that you have to get 3 years of experience or something like that. So what do these companies really want when they say you need to have 2 years of experience, 5 years of experience? What really is making a make or break for that?
Okay, so most of the time, obviously the years of experience are a quick filter. So in the hiring process, I am a hiring manager, so I'm responsible for, let's say, for hiring a senior engineer, but I don't do the filtering. The first filtering for the CVs, that's given to a recruiter. So the recruiter's job is to quickly filter as many candidates, and normally to get that done, we choose sometimes we may choose time in the industry in order to kind of say, okay, these are the pool of candidates that are probably most successful. However, I also know that I've applied for jobs that I don't fill that criteria because I just came out of a bootcamp, so I didn't have the 3 years behind me. So what they actually are normally looking for is they're looking for someone that may have production level experience. So let's say I'll just talk in my world kind of realm. So React Native developer is kind of what I do right now. So if I'm looking for someone that had 3 years of React Native experience, I'm probably also looking for someone that could tell me that they've built an app and they've released it on TestFlight, or they put it on the App Store. They understand that whole process. That's normally what you would kind of get in 3 years. So time isn't necessarily the only thing. It's 2 to 3 years. You're looking for that being able to understand the full scale of how to start something and get it out to users. Over 3 years to 5 years, now you're looking for someone to be able to say they have full ownership of some of those areas, whether it's leading other people or saying I actually led the the release of this app, or I led the building of these particular features, and I mentored other people whilst doing it. That's like 3 to 5 years. Under the 3 year, like 2 year kind of barrier, now you're looking for someone to say that I helped build this feature, like I helped do this, and I was mentored, or I worked with a senior developer and we did this type kind of thing together. That's what you're looking for. So any job which you think, okay, I don't have all the experience because I've just come out of a boot camp, but I want to apply for this, those are the kind of like points that you want to be hitting. And you may have to go and speak to a recruiter or something to prove your case, to say, look, I know I don't have 3 years of experience, but I just built this app and it's on like TestFlight, or it's on the App Store or Google Store. It doesn't have to have any users. You just have to have it out there. And I can prove this, and I can actually show you my project. So hopefully if they hear you and you can kind of hit those points that they need, then they'll put you through to the hiring manager and they'll just explain your case and say, hey, like this person doesn't have 3 years of experience. With my conversation, they seem like they were a great go-getter. They've built their own app. They've done all of this, and you should be able to get through. So hopefully, I hope that I kind of explained it in a really sort of scattered way, but you just want to be able to prove certain stages of the development life cycle that you're comfortable with, and that normally should align with a certain amount of years, because some people have 3 to 5 years of experience and can't do all the things that I just said. They still don't hit those points even though they have the years behind them. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Okay.
So it's really about your impact, right?
It's about what value you are able to add. Almost like I know I said before, you're not expected to add any value when you first join your job, but it's about the value that you could add in like 3 to 6 months, like given that you are comfortable with the code base. That's what they're looking for.
Nice. Okay. Thank you. And yeah, my final question is like if you're working like on site, you usually have people surrounding you and you can talk to them if you need to. But like if you're working remotely, how would you, like especially for junior roles, like you really want to progress and communicate and be able to learn all about the company. But like if the company doesn't have any schedule or any meetings, how would you ask for more? And yeah.
Such a good question, because it's actually one of the things very recently that I've seen that some junior, even mid-level developers really struggle with, is being open about the fact that they're not able to do something or that they need help. So whether it's a peer that you may have or it's a manager, just drop them a note on Slack. Even if you need to be, you can just drop a meeting in their calendar. That's what it's there for, and say, hey, I need some help. Write that down in like the sort of the meeting description. I need help with this. Put that on the agenda. If they will see the meeting, they'll be able to move it. Because what you don't want to do is be silent and then not deliver. Because unfortunately, like I've said before, remote work can become quite transactional, and it's all about what you can deliver. And so if you're not delivering and you're not adding any value, like people will immediately start to be, okay, what's going on here? Like, why are you, you're not telling me what you need. I'm not hearing from you. And so silence is normally seen as like, they're doing really, really well. And unfortunately, some managers are terrible at saying, hey, are you okay? So you're going to have to ask for that help, whether it's peers, meetings, do that as much as you possibly can. And my rule that I have is if I can't figure out a problem or some of it within like half an hour to an hour, I have to ask for help. One, it's just a waste of my time to go around in circles in my own mind. And I'm going to get frustrated at myself. So I ask for help. And you should have like a Slack group channel or something. You feel that you're bothering someone, which you won't be for sure. If you feel like you're bothering someone, then ask it openly in a group channel. Say, hey guys, I'm working on this problem and I'm stuck on 1, 2, like whatever the points are. Try to be as specific as you can. So wherever you are in your problem solving, whatever you can articulate, try and pose that to the group and see what they're coming back with. If no one's answering your question, go directly to your managers. Say like, hey, I've asked for help. Can you help me? Can you spend 10 to 15 minutes with me? I booked some time in your calendar. Let me know when you're free. Then no one can ever say like you are not communicating at your job, you're not asking for help. it's on them to be able to assist you. It's this teamwork. So if one of us is failing, we all are. So that's what I would say to anyone who's junior, mid, or senior. It just seems to be, I think, people who are just new to the industry struggle with that a little bit more. So bother people as much as you can. I've always said to people that I manage, like, if you message me 10 times, I don't respond, that's now my problem. It's no longer yours. So don't be a part of your own problem, basically. So funnily enough, I was talking to a friend the other day about like the technical interviews, and I was interviewing a junior developer, and they used Copilot during the interview, and it was actually ridiculous. Like, I was sitting there thinking, why are you even here? Like, I could literally just ask like the Copilot to do the whole interview. So I do think it's going to change, but it doesn't mean that we should rely on it to do all the thinking for us. In fact, I really hate seeing people using an interview because it doesn't show me how you think. However, outside of the interview process, I think it will change parts of what we do. Maybe some of the things that are like the repeatable processes that go on in our, we can actually just offload to something that knows how to solve the problem. Some of the things we do, no matter the apps that we're building, we do them over and over again. Authentication, security, some of these things, they're not really about the culture. They're just like, we got to do them, they're given. However, humans will never be removed from building tech. Like, we can't be. We will always need to be there. Maybe where our involvement, it might shift. We might be forced to now focus on the newer things that we want to build, like the sort of the boundary of where new tech is occurring, rather than just regurgitating old things that we keep doing over and over again. So maybe we actually get to work on the exciting things, because now this AI is going to take care of all the boring stuff that we've been doing before. But are we at the level yet where we can say okay, we're not going to have jobs anymore, we should all just go home and figure out how to do something else? No, I don't think we're there yet. We're still going to have to be building them anyway. They can't build themselves yet. So yeah, it will change in the future, but right now I think we can say we're comfortable.
Cool. Okay, so I think we're going to leave it here. I'm very happy. At the beginning, it was we were a little bit shy and everything, but we were coming up a little bit. And again, we were tons of things to hear. So I thank you a lot for this session. And for me, it was amazing to be able to do something and to offer you something with these guys. And for that, I can thank you. For the podcast, for the podcast, in time now, I don't know if I do too much. But very, very grateful. So, here for the more guys, see you later on the some of you, and some also catch up with some of the projects. And for those of you here, the same actually, but okay, yeah. Okay, so thank you very much, Nadia, again, and bye-bye. See ya.